I was just casually scrolling when I found this story, and honestly, it broke my brain a little. A girl dies, wakes up in an apocalypse game with 289 other players, and instead of picking superpowers like everyone else, she picks infinite money. I'm sitting here like, wait, you can do that? She built a whole secret island fortress while others were fighting over crumbs. I have so many thoughts. How did she actually win? I need to know.
With a sudden system chime, I was transported into the post-apocalyptic game. The game world's public screen displayed that there were exactly players' prees. The system explained that all of us players had already passed away in the real world, and to gain the ability to be reborn, we must survive within the post-apocalyptic game system.
Now, please choose your starting item.
I quickly scanned the items on the shelf, which mostly consisted of various abilities. The broadcast on the global screen kept scrolling endlessly, as players rushed to claim their abilities. I might have been a second too late. My desired ability could already be taken by someone else. The number of abilities like lightning strikes, wind blades, teleportation, and healing spells was gradually decreasing. I scrolled to the very last page and saw a gold coin sitting on the lowest shelf, with the words, "Endless Wealth," written on it. I quickly claimed the coin for myself. The person who was transported in with me was someone else who had died on the bus. Young Master Henry chose mental control, and when he turned around, he saw me gathering coins. He chuckled, saying,
Did you, aren't you a bit too focused on money? We're in the midst of an apocalypse. What good is cash now?
Before I could explain, his gaze shifted to Class Beauty Grace, who had chosen gaining love. We were all stunned, and she gave us a playful wink.
I can gain affection from people, even zombies. With genuine love protecting me, I'll stay safe no matter what.
After all the items had been claimed, the system's voice sounded again.
Everyone has 1 year to train their abilities and prepare. The apocalypse will begin in a year. Please note that there is only one winner in this game. Only the player who survives until the end will be eligible for the reward.
After hearing those words, everyone's expressions turned uncertain. The people who had agreed to team up now all showed signs of doubt toward one another. In this game, there are no friends. Everyone is an opponent. I quickly left the scene and kicked off my survival plan for the post-apocalyptic world. On the world map, I kept searching until I finally found a small island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The island size is just right, neither too large nor too small. And this island is extremely far from the mainland, with neighboring islands also spaced far apart, making it essentially an isolated one. The island is not located in an earthquake zone, nor in a storm-prone area, and there are no active volcanoes present. The island has a natural flat area that's ideal for building an airport, and the surrounding green hills make excellent cover. I didn't hesitate. I spent a staggering $1 billion to buy the island and named it Future Island. I claimed I was developing a tourism project, purchased 10 large cruise ships, and signed construction agreements with NPC representatives, transporting all the engineering vehicles and building materials to the island. I signed a confidentiality agreement with the NPC executives, and they don't know the exact location of Future Island. After the cruise ship arrived at Future Island, workers began constructing a temporary airstrip. I bought 100 planes and used charter flights to bring construction workers from all over the world to Future Island. The workers labored around the clock, And to prevent the island from being tracked, I had already purchased signal jammers and collected all the workers' phones in advance. 10 sturdy fortresses were built on the island, using materials that met the highest standards and could withstand earthquakes up to magnitude. The bunkers were disguised so thoroughly that they couldn't be detected from satellite view. However, those were just distractions. The real survival bunker lies beneath the ground. The underground fortress can withstand nuclear attacks and biological threats. Even if there were creatures that burrow underground, they wouldn't be able to break through the 5-meter-thick steel walls. The surface fortress has hidden passages leading to the underground bunker, but the tunnels are extremely narrow, just wide enough for one person to pass through, like a maze. Even if you manage to find the right path to the fortress gate, you still might not avoid the traps along the way. If one of the secret passages is damaged, I can still reach the surface through other routes. Otherwise, the underground fortress would become a trap with no escape. In a post-apocalyptic world, energy is essential. To address the issue of energy supply, I installed wind power, tidal power, and nuclear energy systems across the island. I built 5 nuclear power plants, 2 large ones for daily use, and 1 additional large plant plus 2 medium-sized ones serving as backups. 3 large nuclear power plants and 2 medium-sized ones are located underground and beneath the sea. There's also a biogas tank underground. I've equipped myself with a hand crank generator, plenty of rechargeable batteries, and a reserve of diesel fuel, just in case. Water supply was also well taken care of. I installed rainwater collectors and a seawater desalination system. And I even tapped into underground water sources. Purification systems can clean contaminated water from the post-apocalyptic world to a level safe for drinking. And there are also systems for instantly eliminating viruses using high temperature, low temperature, non-spectral light, and chemical agents. The wastewater treatment system is designed to handle the sewage generated by the underground fortress. Considering the risk of flooding, the walls were waterproofed, the blast doors were airtight, and the underground drainage system was highly efficient. Multiple air purification systems were installed to ensure the underground shelter had plenty of clean, fresh air. In addition, I've stockpiled 100,000 oxygen tanks for use in emergencies. The underground shelter is divided into 12 compartments, so if 1 or 2 are damaged, there are still other compartments I can use. Each compartment serves its own purpose, with 3 of them equipped with the latest automated farming systems capable of growing vegetables, raising fish, and keeping chickens. There are 2 storage units stocked with enough supplies to last me 10 years. Goods, medicine, food, and water. Some of the compartments also include bedrooms, kitchens, dining areas, recreation rooms, gyms, bathrooms, and medical facilities, among other amenities. When NPCs had doubts about my construction projects, I simply offered them extra payments, and they quickly fell silent, working even harder just for the chance to earn more. I had money to spare, more than I could ever possibly spend. I acquired a large number of advanced military equipment from the United States, including mobile combat units and debris-clearing machines. Even with a large amount of money, I managed to acquire 2 nuclear devices through unconventional means. Hidden in a secluded bay is my nuclear submarine and an aircraft, with direct access tunnels connecting them to the underground fortress. I hired 2 coaches to train myself daily in operating nuclear submarines and aircraft. to keep individuals with special abilities from reaching the island. I had artificial reefs constructed far out at sea. Large ships would run aground and be unable to continue their approach. A little closer to the shore, I set up an electric barrier to encircle the island. Around the coastal area, I installed explosive devices and set up radar systems to detect anything approaching the island, allowing me to respond swiftly. I set up a large-scale electric grid in the air to keep birds carrying viruses from landing on the island. In just 1 year, all the island's defense systems were fully completed. Of course, to keep enemies off guard, I launched large-scale tourism projects around the world, making sure players wouldn't notice anything unusual. Some shelters serve as backup locations, and I can fly to any of them without refueling. After seeing off the last group of NPCs, the entire island was left with just me. I invested heavily to acquire space exploration technologies, bringing satellites in orbit under my control to ensure a stable network. During that year, I acquired airlines and shipping companies across the globe. In the final week, I ordered the centralized destruction of all airplanes and ships. Everyone around the world knew that the billionaire had destroyed all long-distance transportation vehicles. The NPCs all thought the billionaire was crazy. Only the players knew that this global tycoon was also their rival. A small window popped up in the chat interface of the player world. Henry asked me,
Are you the world's richest person?
He was the only one who saw me choose infinite wealth. But I didn't acknowledge him at all. 1 week later, the end times began. Players who had upgraded their abilities were eager to test them out. The names and IDs of players were displayed on the main screen. I'm player, Henry's player, and Grace's player. System.
Please note, the apocalypse has begun. This game will continue until only one player remains.
No one expected the end of the world to come in the form of a global downpour. From north to south, prolonged and heavy rainfall triggered massive flooding, as fierce as the legendary ancient deluge described in myths. Although Future Island also experienced heavy rain, the small size of the island meant the storm clouds moved on. After just 2 days, I hadn't even had time to get into the underground bunker. The players with special abilities were stunned. Messages scrolled rapidly across the global chat. System. What good is our ability in the midst of such a massive flood? Yeah, system. You're not playing fair. System.
Did I ever say the post-apocalyptic world had to be caused by a zombie virus?
Everyone fell silent. Besides me, everyone who arrived in this world started with nothing. For the past year, they've been training their abilities while trying to earn money, working hard and barely managing to gather any supplies at all. A few players who used their abilities for illegal activities managed to secure a villa and built a shelter in the basement. Ooh. But the floodwaters reached the basement first. All supplies were soaked, and the entire villa was overwhelmed by floodwaters. Some player shelters built in the underground garage were completely flooded. The shelters on the upper floors were temporarily safe, but the rain showed no sign of stopping. With their already limited supplies dwindling, players began to feel anxious. At the same time, I was savoring tender beef slices in a steaming spicy hot pot while watching a live stream, the rich fragrance of the broth filling the room. The streamer was hiding behind the curtains, quietly broadcasting the scene across the street. A player was using fire-based abilities to take supplies from a building.
This isn't special effects. This is a real person with powers. He used to be our neighborhood security guard, and now he's using fire to break in. This is the 10th home he's robbed.
Chat messages flew across the live stream screen in a flurry.
Wow. Superpowers are really real. Does this mean the apocalypse is coming?
Streamer, be careful. After he finishes looting the opposite building, he'll target yours next.
Call the police. Hurry up and call the police.
After finishing my hot pot dinner, I let out a contented belch, took a shower, applied a face mask, and then kept watching the live stream. The player with fire abilities drew the attention of the non-player characters, and a group of police officers arrived at the neighborhood in rescue boats. Surrounding the building with weapons drawn, the streamer said, their hands shaking with excitement.
This is the first time I've seen an actual shootout. The security guards' fire powers are incredible. They melted the heavy iron gate in seconds.
Special forces entered the building. Gunfire erupted sharply. Countless windows shattered from the intense heat and flames, and explosions echoed one after another. Suddenly, a figure shot out from the top floor and plunged into the floodwaters below. Not long after, I noticed a player's name turn gray on the game's public screen, indicating they had been eliminated. At that moment, Henry reached out to me again in the game's chat interface. Private chat. Henry.
Did you let's team up?
You see, we're classmates and our IDs are next to each other. We could team up and make it to the end together. You can see me, right? Just reply. My mental influence is strong. I can help you take down other players, since you don't have any special abilities. He kept sending me video connection requests, never giving up. I still ignored him. I teamed up with him, and when it came down to just the two of us, he used mental influence to overpower me, becoming the sole survivor. Was he underestimating my intelligence? Or overestimating it? No water, no electricity, and food supplies running low. 3 months of flooding had shattered the NPC's hopes. Eventually, someone couldn't take it anymore and took desperate action, causing chaos and destruction. The players were among them, trying to find a chance for survival. Their abilities couldn't stay hidden, drawing attention from higher authorities who issued a nationwide alert. Anyone identified with special powers would be taken in for research. Within a month, players went offline on the live stream screen. For a moment, the players were all on edge, each one feeling deeply unsettled. But the world I was in felt completely different from theirs. I spend my days wandering around the island, soaking up the sun, checking on how my vegetables are growing, and making sure the submarine and plane are in good condition. In the evening, I practiced yoga on the beach and headed back for a delicious lobster dinner. Sometimes I played games in a grand mansion, and other times I swam in the pool. Future Island was truly a peaceful paradise that brought me endless comfort. But the calm didn't last long. I was eventually betrayed. Someone anonymously posted a message on the world chat. Player No is the world's richest person, and surely built many shelters before the apocalypse. If we can find Player No, everyone can survive. The long dormant
Did you global chat?
was instantly flooded with messages. I saw a news report and guessed the richest person had to be a player, but I didn't know who exactly. It turns out it's player number. Come out and speak. You're living comfortably while hundreds of us suffer. That's cruel and hurdles. Yes, players like this should be eliminated. If we find the Tage one, we can survive. Brothers, let's go. Take down number. All the players were furious, ready to tear me apart in anger. I just wanted to stay quiet and safe. But you all keep dragging me into this. I shifted my wrist slightly and typed a message on the public chat. Hey everyone, calm down, You all want shelter. I can provide it. But what is it? Just say it. Don't keep us in suspense, unless you speak up. We'll find you. Take all your supplies. And make sure you're out of the game. I smiled and continued typing. But I've only established shelters in 4 places: China, the United States, Germany, and Australia. And each shelter can hold at most 20 people. I marked 4 locations on the world map. There are over of you. But these shelters can't hold everyone. Please, I'll share the access codes. First come, first served. Just don't chase M. The moment I entered the code, every player erupted in excitement. If they reach the shelter first, they'll be safe from the flood. I stretched my sore neck, shut down the player world interface, and got ready to head to bed, hoping tomorrow would be a fresh start. In just one night, some players had already reached the shelter. Most of them had the ability to move at high speed. The shelter was built on high ground, safe from the floodwaters. When they opened the shelter's door and stepped inside, it felt like entering a paradise. After all, I've built these 4 shelters to be beautifully furnished and fully equipped, with a well-stocked freezer filled with plenty of frozen food. Young Master proudly started a live stream on the global screen. Who would have thought the shelter was built so well? Being wealthy really pays off. Inside, they were enjoying steaks and roasted lamb, sipping wine, with the table filled with a variety of delicious dishes. Number said,
"There are already people inside the shelter. We've unanimously decided to close down the one in China due to limited resources. No one else needs to come."
Other players were still on their way when they saw the live stream, and immediately reacted with intense anger, shouting insults at each other. Outside the shelter, players kept arriving in steady waves. They'd rather take this lifeline than face drowning in the flood or starving to death from lack of food. Their strong will to survive drove them to desperation, begging those inside to open the door and let them in. The players inside the shelter had already locked the main door shut, and no matter how hard they pounded on it or tried to break through the walls, even using their abilities, nothing could budge the solid barrier. While the players inside were basking in their satisfaction, I suddenly spoke up. We agreed on space for people. Right. There should still be room for 8 more. I have a backup code. No matter how they lock the door, I can still get inside. The hidden entrance is located in the southeast corner, beneath the wall base, the decorative brick there. Just turn it, and the secret door will appear. Player angrily shouted.
"Player, don't stir up trouble."
The players outside quickly rushed toward the hidden door, turning the ornate mosaic tiles, and on the ancient wall, a concealed entrance truly appeared. Players rushed forward eagerly, competing for the 8 available spots, afraid they might miss out. Outside the shelter, players were caught in a fierce struggle. A girl who appeared delicate and frail was moving too slowly, lagging behind the rest. Suddenly, her arms sprouted countless vines that shot forward with wild force, tripping up a large group of players in an instant. The player with wind blade ability quickly cut through the vine beneath their feet, then swung a sharp burst of wind that caused fatal harm to the other player clinging to the vines. The wind blade player was the first to reach the door, entered the emergency code, and the gate swung open. He rushed inside with excitement. Shortly after, another player unleashed a lightning strike that knocked down a large group of people, allowing the second one to rush through the door. The third player had just reached the doorway when they were suddenly grabbed from behind and held tightly by another player's arms around their leg.
Aisho.
The player lying on the ground wore an eerie smile as venom from their nails was injected into their leg. The venom player had just started to rise when a steel-like arm from behind pierced through their chest. One after another, players fell at the entrance of the shelter. The will to survive made them drop their last remaining masks. It turned out the abilities provided by the system weren't meant to fight zombies, but to drive players to turn on each other. The players inside the shelter couldn't stay calm either. They all had quick movement abilities, but their combat strength was clearly lacking. If we don't close the gate, won't those players with higher strength be trapped like fish in a barrel? The wind, blade, and thunder strike players who had just rushed in realized the situation quickly, forming an alliance to confront those still outside. At that moment, the numbers on the public screen were rising rapidly, with more players falling one after another. A true test of human nature under pressure! I rubbed my temples and switched to the surveillance feeds from the other 3 shelters. Human nature is the same everywhere. Intense conflicts also erupted outside the other 3 shelters. I stared coldly at the numbers on the screen. I couldn't find Henry's presence in any of the surveillance feeds. You're right. How could he possibly go to the shelter? Speaking of coincidences, Henry just sent me a private message. Henry.
Did you, Luna? Look at this. Did you, even without an alliance? Did you, we've coordinated so well. Did you, we must be natural allies.
I replied, do you have any shame? It was you who exposed my identity and put me on the line, Henry.
Did you, don't get so worked up. Did you, if I don't give a few suggestions? Did you, how could players be pushed to death? You should thank me for reducing your competition.
As we were talking, the shelter had already reached full capacity, and the door automatically sealed shut. Outside the shelter, chaos reigned as those left behind fought desperately to survive. The players inside the shelter were celebrating, unaware of what awaited them. I smiled at Henry and said, you really missed out on being inside the shelter. I pressed a button. In an instant, the tons of explosives hidden inside the shelter were triggered. 4 shelters were blown apart, forming a mushroom cloud. Flames quickly engulfed everything around, with intense heat melting the metal frames and turning the concrete structures red hot. The shockwave even shattered the surviving players outside the shelter. After the explosion, the number of players decreased by only players remained ally. It took Henry a while before he finally sent me a message. Private chat. Henry.
Did you, I underestimated you. Did you, I thought you were just a kind and gentle girl.
Thanks for your help. Otherwise it would have been really tough to gather so many players into the shelter. The players who had the highest chance of reaching Future Isle without planes or ships no longer exist. I've been planning how to take them all down at once since a year ago. Those shelters were their final resting place. The news about the shelter explosion couldn't have spread so quickly. So other surviving players had no idea what had happened. But Henry knew right away, which meant he'd been watching everything from a distance near the shelter. At that moment, the system sent me a message. System.
Congratulations on being the player with the most eliminations. You have earned an extra reward. We look forward to your outstanding performance.
When I saw this reward, I couldn't help but smile. Look. This world has always been about the survival of the fittest. The players weren't frightened by others' deaths. Instead, they felt relieved as the number of rivals had dropped significantly. Rain would eventually come to an end, and after 4 months, the floodwaters gradually receded, revealing the land that had been submerged. The sun rose again, shining over a land left in ruins. Everyone let out a sigh of relief. thinking the crisis was finally over. However, they didn't expect the flood to bring a widespread illness, and many deceased NPCs turned into hostile figures. System.
Ding! Congratulations to the players for clearing the first stage of the Doomsday Flood. The next stage is now beginning, the Doomsday Zombies.
Someone suddenly broke down. Didn't you say there were no zombies last time? System.
Why not go back and check carefully? I never said the apocalypse would definitely have no zombies.
An interesting system. Having zombies isn't worse. This is finally our chance to use our abilities. That Tate 1 is just doomed to be at the mercy of Oz. It's finally our turn to turn the tables. Such fools. Grace sent me a private message. Private chat. Grace.
Luna, you don't have any special abilities, and you won't survive in a zombie apocalypse. Just share some supplies with me and tell me your location, and I can come to protect you.
I slowly raised a questioning look. Private chat. Grace.
Don't underestimate my ability. I survived the flood all thanks to it.
I naturally knew how she had managed to survive. She used her ability to gain love, to convince her neighbors to hand over their supplies. When the rescue team arrived, she was the first one to be saved. She had been using her gain love ability to enjoy care and affection from others, taking advantage of the situation without a second thought, while others lost their chances to survive. As the rescue boat passed by a building half submerged in water, a baby's cries could be heard coming from inside. The rescue team wanted to get closer to check, but Grace suddenly revealed part of her shoulder and clung to the man steering the rescue boat. Tears streaming down her face. "Sir, I'm feeling really well, my chest hurts so much. Please. We should hurry and leave now? Okay." The elderly man felt sympathy for her, spoke gently to comfort her, and then sailed the rescue boat away. "Sorry, I'm not interested in girls." And Grace knew I was the richest person, and it was clearly no coincidence. Zombie virus erupted across the continents. Because I destroyed the airplanes and ships in advance, the transmission routes to the Pacific Islands and Antarctica were severed. After surviving the flood, a zombie crisis struck, causing global social systems to collapse almost instantly. Basic zombies aren't hard to handle, but the virus spreads too easily. After spreading repeatedly, it started causing mutations. As I had anticipated, intelligent zombies and those with special abilities began to emerge quietly. When zombies consume the flesh of individuals with special abilities, they gain those powers. Players realized that without joining forces, they would not survive, so they began forming alliances on their own, building safe bases to defend against the zombie threat. However, the survival bases not only had to fight off zombies but also constantly clashed with each other over supplies and lives. Facing the zombie virus, I had to set up a steel net in the ocean to keep infected fish from reaching Future Island. Though it's a bit disappointing that I can no longer enjoy seafood. Sispit. The sky was also lined with electric grids to keep birds from descending, casting a slightly dimmer light over the land. On rainy days, I'd retreat into the underground fortress, only stepping out after machines confirmed the rain was safe to touch. This was the greatest impact the zombie virus had on me. The land-based network had long been destroyed, so NPCs could only rely on radio signals to communicate. But I didn't need such outdated tools. Thousands of satellites above allowed me to monitor Earth in real time. As I had predicted, birds carried the virus with them. When the virus reached the vulnerable island nation, the entire place turned into a nightmare in an instant. One by one, nations vanished from the post-apocalyptic map. and despair spread across the world. My heart felt heavy. Seeing such devastation was overwhelming, and I longed more than ever to return home. The number of players kept decreasing, and this time it dropped to just 30 people. An unexpected visitor arrived at Future Island, a mutated flying zombie bird. Its head was hollow, still dripping with fluid. As soon as it flew over the waters surrounding Future Island, it crashed into the power grid and was instantly turned to ash by high-voltage electricity. But one feather slipped through the gaps in the grid and drifted down. Before it could touch the ground, a robotic dog fired a stream of flame and reduced it to dust. This bird likely flew here from another island in the Pacific Ocean. From that day on, large numbers of birds passed through the skies above Future Island every single day. The power grid became lined with bird carcasses. The robots were constantly active, patrolling the entire island and using controlled fires to clear away bird carcasses from the power lines. Given how severe the situation was on Future Island, it's clear that conditions elsewhere must be even worse. I stopped going to the beach every day and quickly moved into the underground bunker. Today is New Year's Day, but no one else in the world has any interest in celebrating, except for me. Still, I believed in keeping traditions meaningful. I put up red couplets on the living room walls and hung traditional Chinese lanterns. The dining table was set with my favorite dishes, naturally including a steaming plate of dumplings. As I enjoyed my New Year's Eve dinner, I played the final Spring Festival Gala before the collapse of society. No matter how times change, wealth always allows people to live better than most. This remains a constant truth. I thought about my old home, my loving mother, my dependable father, and my kind grandmothers and grandfathers. Every spring festival we would all gather together. My parents would prepare a lavish feast, stay up late after dinner, and I'd get a stack of red envelopes. Now I'm alone, and it's hard not to feel a deep sense of sorrow. In real life, I've already passed away. How heartbroken they must be. Even if things were comfortable in this post-apocalyptic world, nothing could compare to the warmth of home. I have to go back. I must become the sole survivor. I took a photo of my New Year's Eve dinner, with the Spring Festival show playing in the background. I'm smiling brightly, and steam rises gently from the pot on the table. Then, I sent that photo to Henry. Within a minute, Henry had posted my photo on the global chat screen. Imagine the players' reactions. Waves of angry messages flooding in. Number turns out to be a woman, living quite comfortable.
We can barely get a hot meal. Yet she has a whole table full of food.
Did you back off before things get worse? I'll find you. Did you, and then you're done.
I didn't care at all. I shot back with a smirk. Then I'll just wait for you. Assuming you can actually find me. I logged out, then turned on my computer to review the files I'd collected on 30 players. They had no idea that long before the apocalypse hit, the world was already under my watch. My agents located players scattered across the globe and kept them under steady observation over time. I knew every player's strengths and weaknesses inside out. After the apocalypse began, my mercenaries survived, thanks to the supplies I had stored in advance. They continued serving me, and in return, I was able to unlock new resources for them. Money can do almost anything. Even in a world like this, supplies are the most valuable currency. Currently, 3 major factions have emerged across the world. The first faction is the military, equipped with powerful weapons and fortified bases. Henry gained control through mental influence, The second force consists of zombies, among whom a zombie king has risen. He acquired abilities from other powered zombies and players by defeating them. Grace now stands as his closest companion at his side. The third faction is the gang, which had already entered one of the world's most dangerous and chaotic nations before the apocalypse began. Using their powers, managed to take control of the criminal network. Under S leadership, the gang grew stronger by taking from ordinary POP. The remaining players have all aligned themselves with one of these three major factio, can control gravity, which is an incredibly powerful ability in any one-on-one fight. No player stands a chance against him. Still, the gang's power is actually the weakest among the three factions. I tapped the icon of player with my pen and said, "Let's start with Yo. System."
Beep. Currently, players remain alive. The game difficulty will now increase as we enter the third stage, the frozen continent.
Someone couldn't hold back any longer. It's been years and months since the collapse. We've run out of supplies, and with freezing weather coming, everyone on this planet will perish.
System, just be human for once.
System.
Sorry, I'm not a human.
Grace quietly sent me a private message. Private message. Grace.
Luna, when the time comes, only zombies will survive across the planet, and I'll be one of them. You'll regret turning me down.
She sent a photo with the zombie king. The more abilities he absorbs, the more human-like he becomes. The red eyes and pale skin gave people an uneasy feeling. If that's how it is, then I'll send both of you lovers to the afterlife. Extreme cold swept across the entire planet, affecting even me on my tropical island. After all, this survival game didn't follow real-world logic anyway. A powerful snowstorm hit Future Island, and the sky-based power grid was the first to suffer. The blizzard damaged the power lines, leaving wind and tidal energy plants severely compromised. Fortunately, the backup nuclear power plant in the underground fortress remained operational. The gang was the first to fall apart. Having used up most of the people's supplies, tensions within the group rose. Disagreements became common, and those with special abilities kept losing contact one after another. I sent a private message to player through the world chat. Interfa. Private chat. Luna. How about we work Taja? Private chat. Luna. I've hidden supplies across your territory. If you retrieve them, you can survive. Shortly after, replied to,
Private chat.
What do you want? How can I trust Yo? Private chat. Luna. I need you to take down the undead king. Private chat. Luna, my team of scientists has developed a cure. Just spray it on the undead, and they'll vanish. But, you know I don't have any combat ability. After thinking it over, among the players with powers, you're the strongest. Only you can do Thai. Private chat. Luna, humans struggle in extreme cold. But the undead don't. The longer we wait, the more likely they are to win. Even if I have supplies, they'll eventually run out. If that happens, we'll become the last one standing. The undead king is too powerful. Without the cure, no player can defeat him. I've got the solution. You've got your abilities. Let's team up and take him down. To gain his trust, I sent a sample of the cure along with supplies via mercenary. I had secretly brought a group of renowned scientists to a hidden shelter, where they focused entirely on developing the cure. After much effort, the antidote was finally developed and only awaited action from Number. The gang tested the antidote on a zombie, which let out painful cries before dissolving into a pool of liquid. At the same time, the virus it carried was neutralized, was tempted. if the world were left with just me and him, he could easily kill me. To him, I was the weakest player. Forming an alliance with me made perfect sense. On a snowy night, hundreds of drones flew toward the zombie horde, carrying the antidote. The undead king was embracing Grace as she slept. His keen senses immediately detected something unusual. He quietly got out of bed and made sure to cover Grace warmly before leaving. The room was warmed by a crackling fire. Everything had been done for Grace's comfort. A large amount of antidote rained down with the snow, covering everything in sight. The zombies that came into contact with the antidote screamed in agony, dissolving into pools of liquid. The zombie king roared in fury, leaping down and shooting several beams from his palms, shattering the drone. Player led the group of players charging forward. He activated his gravity power, pinning the zombie king firmly to the ground. So strong was the force that even the mighty creature couldn't lift its hand. The zombie king's bloodshot eyes locked onto the players, letting out a chilling roar deep in his throat. A few of the players charged toward him. The zombie king let out a piercing shriek, and zombies hiding in the shadows surged forward like wild monkeys, biting through the players' necks in an instant. Used their power again, and the towering building was torn apart by gravity before collapsing. Massive stones crashed down on the zombies, burying both them and the zombie king beneath the rubble. Player flashed a triumphant smile. These boulders were more than enough to crush the zombie king into pieces. Grace stood on the balcony, the cold wind brushing through her hair as she covered her face and let out a piercing cry. Moved a finger, and the terrace beneath Grace crumbled. She fell from great height. There was no way she could survive such a fall. At the last moment, the zombie king leaped from the wreckage and caught Grace. At the same time, countless thin threads shot out from one of his hands, wrapping tightly around. Was utterly shocked. He had no idea the zombie king possessed such abilities. The zombie king gave a gentle tug, and Number S body instantly shattered into pike. But the zombie king hadn't expected that Number was carrying a full supply of medicine on his purse. The threads tore through the vials, and a gust of wind carried the medicine around him. Grace cried out in distress as she clung to him. She watched in horror as the zombie king's skin and flesh began to break down into liquid, oozing slowly from his decaying form. The zombie king's eyes remained fixed on her with a gentle gaze. Reaching out as if wanting to brush her hair, Grace shoved him away, letting out a sharp cry.
Disgusting! Stay back!
A look of sorrow flashed in the zombie king's eyes, but soon he dissolved into a pool of red liquid. Before her lay only broken rubble where the zombie stronghold once stood. A half-crushed corpse writhed on the ground, and Grace was frozen with fear. This place felt like pure nightmare. She stumbled through the snow, rushing away as fast as she could. But soon, she fell into a hidden ice pit and broke her leg. This time, no one would come to save her. Relying on someone else's love as a power source was ultimately too fragile. On the global chat, another players disappear. I crossed off their numbers one by one in my notebook. When I reached Number, I saw his weakness written behind it. Gravity manipulation couldn't affect extremely lightweight materials, like the zombie king's silk thria. I love turning information gaps into surefire advantages. I now had only one opponent left, Henry, who controlled the military forces. He was eager to bring this game to an end. He called out to me on the global chat system.
This game has always been about smart players. Did you, Luna? You've done well to get this far. But every game needs a loser. If you end it now? I'll spare you the pain.
I've always known you had mercenaries. But they're no match for the military. You just have some money. But I've got missiles, aircraft carriers, and combat planes. No matter where you hide, I'll find you. And I flipped him off on the global chat. Henry's mental control is strong, but he has one fatal flaw. He must be face to face to use his ability. As long as I stay hidden in the underground fortress, he can't use his power on me. But I didn't expect him to launch missiles directly at Future Island. Several missiles rained down on Future Island, pounding it relentlessly. After a long time, I was still online. Henry felt stunned.
Did you, your shelter is pretty solid. Did you? Then I'll come take you out myself.
He brought his aircraft carrier in close. Those reefs I set up were nothing to it. When he landed on Future Island, the whole place was shrouded in smoke. Mountains had been flattened, the ground torn into deep craters, and every defense structure lay in ruins. He looked at the exposed underground fortress gate and gave a confident smile. Trapping you inside is exactly my kind of game. He ordered his troops to bombard the gate with heavy weapons and ammunition. After several intense rounds, the gate was shattered open, revealing the passage within. I immediately sent him a video call request. He grinned as he accepted the video call, staring into the dark passage and saying,
Did you? It's too late to beg now.
With a nod of his chin, he signaled the soldiers to move forward into the passage, intent on dragging me out. In the video, I calmly pointed to the vast universe behind me and said, "Who told you I was at Future Island? Open your eyes wide to see where I actually am." Before he could react, a nuclear explosion erupted on Future Island. No living being could survive the force of such an explosion. Henry was no exception. The name of player finally turned gray. The system emitted a sharp, piercing sound. System.
Congratulations to player for becoming the sole survivor and successfully completing the game.
Henry had a player with an ability that allowed him to determine the exact location shown in a photograph. It was considered a very limited power, but Henry quickly realized he could make use of it. He had sent me video requests countless times, hoping to pinpoint my location by taking screenshots, but I never accepted them. Later, I sent him a photo on New Year's Eve. He cursed me in his heart, but happily used it to pinpoint my location.
Did you pretty good at hiding? Did you, Aunt?
After waiting for both the gang and the undead king to destroy each other, he planned to take advantage of the chaos and eliminate me. But how could I not know who was loyal to him? That photo was deliberately shared to lure him to Future Island. After sending the photo, I left Future Island behind. I asked the system, "Can I use the extra reward you gave me now?" System.
Of course.
The reward the system gave me was one chance to instantly teleport anywhere. With my supplies, I was safely transported straight to a space station up in orbit. But the system didn't give me an option to return to Earth. Until the very end, I couldn't use this power. It didn't matter anymore, because I was finally going home. I watched my body slowly fade into transparency. A mechanical voice echoed in my ears. System.
Player Luna, number has 1. Entering the teleportation sequence now. 1, 2, 3.
I leapt forward with a deep breath. "Mom, Dad, I'm back."
This story genuinely messed with my head in the best way. The way the heroine uses nothing but mining her pure brain cells to outsmart 299 players with actual superpowers. Chef's kiss. While everyone else was panicking about floods and zombies, she was eating hot pot in her underground nuclear bunker like it's just another Tuesday. What got me the most was that quiet moment at the end when she's sitting alone holding that family photo with tears in her eyes. She had infinite wealth, satellites, nukes, everything, but all she wanted was to go home to her parents. That hit different. I love how toxic and ruthless the players became once survival kicked in. We grew trying to manipulate her the whole time. Total red flag. And the way she turned their own greed against them, emotional damage for everyone else, zero for her. Okay, real talk. If you were in that game and you had infinite money, would you have done the same thing she did with those fake safe houses? Would you have blown them up? Be honest in the comments. I need to know I'm not the only unhinged one here. If you want more of me losing my mind over wild books like this, hit subscribe.